Like Otto Wallin, no excuses, none at all.
Of course, took him very seriously, and I know that he's one of the best fighters out there. And I really have no excuses. He was just better, I think.
Now I could be biased, but I don't think I am. I actually think he wanted to say that Joshua would beat Tyson Fury, but he held back from saying that.
You've shared the ring with AJ and you've shared the ring with Tyson as well now, Otto. There's a lot of talk if we ever will see them as two Brits share the ring. As a man who shared the ring with both, what are your thoughts about a potential down the line Fury Joshua fight?
Well, I would say that this fight with Joshua was a lot tougher than the fight I had with Fury. It's hard to say. I think that Fury is a very good fighter, can probably pick it up from what he was doing in his last fight, but it's not going to be an easy fight. We'll see what happens with Joshua now. Maybe he has looked good in this fight, I don't know, but he might been on to something really good with Ben Davison, and Ben obviously knows Tyson, so that could be a good fight. I don't know. There's a lot of variables, but I always said that Fury would win that fight. But now, just being in with Joshua, I feel a little bit different. But it's hard to go against Tyson, I think. But I don't know. It's changed my mind a little bit after this fight.
I don't think Wallin could beat Anthony Joshua, but this card benefited Anthony Joshua, I believe, because he seems like he's dedicated to his training and doesn't skip days or anything like that. I think the short notice cards will hurt certain fighters more than it will hurt others. The gym rats who stay ready, don't have to get ready. They're good. They're good. But someone like Otto would need a longer camp to even think about being competitive with AJ. In saying that, Otto had 3 fights this year, same as AJ. And his last fight was in October against Gassiev, and that was a month after AJ knocked out Hellenius. Wilder, like over a year and a month out the ring, 1 fight in 2 years and change, not ideal. Jarrell Miller, not so much inactivity, but it looks like that testing once again has caught up with him. When he's been on these big promotions, on that Matchroom promotion for the MSG, he got popped. When he was on that top rank card for the Jerry Forrest fight, got popped again. This one here, he was tested stringently. But look at the performance. His output reduced considerably. What, just coincidence? Maybe. But, he claims that he's been throwing up to 80 punches around in the fights we've seen. Well, he wasn't doing that Saturday gone. You know what I mean? Extra weight classes and extra sanctioning bodies open up opportunities for fighters who perhaps geographically wouldn't get the opportunity, or their skill set wouldn't get them in a position to get these opportunities. Like when the IBF came along, a lot more world title fights took place in South Africa. When the WBO came along, a lot more world title fights took place in Europe. The WBA, back in the day, opened up more world titles in South America. There's no way around the debate, because it's just maths. From light flyweight to super bantamweight, there's a 14-pound span. From lightweight to welterweight, there's a 12-pound span. In that 14-pound span for Inoue, there's 5 weight classes from lightweight to super bantamweight, but there's only 3 from lightweight to welterweight. Inoue, in theory, had 2 more weight classes, and within them weight classes are 4 sanctioning bodies in each weight class. So there were more champions and sanctioning bodies and options for world title fights than Terence Crawford. So Inoue is a 4-weight champion, yes. Terence Crawford is a 3-weight champion. So when I hear, the argument that they make that Inoue is better than Terence Crawford, he's got world titles at more weights, he's fought more champions. Well, it's a quantity debate more than anything, isn't it? And, they can say I'm hating, but as far as I remember, since I've been on the channel, I've been speaking about how they've decimated the lower weight classes. Before Inoue was considered pound for pound, so you can call it hating all you like. This is maths you're arguing against right now. a lot of you was not watching boxing when there wasn't no fucking minimum weight class. You wasn't watching boxing. I was. And I'm not saying it makes Inoue an inadequate fighter. He's a great fighter. And I'm not saying it's his fault either. But these are the circumstances we're presented with. Oscar Rivas, I don't believe would have won a title at heavyweight. But he won one at Bridgerweight because the weight class and the opportunity opened up. And it's the same with Lucas Rozansky from Poland. He may go on to become a 2-time world champion if he moves up to the new super cruiserweight limit that the WBA have. Now, if you're an extreme Inoue fan, you're probably in your feelings right now. But, you know, listen, I had Terence Crawford fans in their feelings when he won undisputed at 140. I said, well, it's a little depleted there. But, you know, the accomplishment will appreciate when he moves up to 147 if he's successful there. And I was 100% right. And, yo, I've never been a Terence Crawford hater. Never. 1963, Emil Griffiths was recognized as the first light middleweight champion. Not by the WBC, not by the WBA, but the Austrian Boxing Board of Control. Now, Emil won a decision over Denny Moyer, who went on to become WBC, WBA light middleweight champion. He didn't win neither title in the ring. He was inaugurated into both titles. Now, he was eventually knocked out by Freddie Little. A very good fighter was Denny Moyer, but he lost to the likes of Joey Archer, Emil Griffiths, as I mentioned, Ray Robinson, old Sugar Ray Robinson beat him. Now, he was a good fighter. He gave Emil Griffiths a good fight, apparently. I've never seen it. But he could have won a legitimate belt at 160. But with the strength of competition around him, it would have been way harder to become a world champion. He probably wouldn't have done. But he won one at 154 because the opportunity opened up. Now, Emil Griffiths, he won legit titles at legitimate weight classes. 147 and 160. And Inoue, don't get me wrong, he would have won belts regardless if it was 8 traditional or 19 traditional weight classes. But we have to point the facts out. You know, Crawford was undisputed at light welter. That's not a traditional weight class. Tony Canzoneri was the first light welterweight champion in the early 30s. So Crawford himself, you know, if we turn the clock back to become a free weight champion, we'd have to remove light welterweight, so that would leave him at 2 titles, and remove light middleweight, and he'd have to go to 160, to become a free weight champion. But as it remains today, Inoue has had 5 weight classes within a 14-pound weight span to work within, and Crawford has had 3 weight classes within a 12-pound span to work within. Who has had more opportunities? The other criteria is if they were the same weight, who do you think would win? That's very subjective. But as for the sanctioning bodies and the weight classes argument, that's not subjective. It's just down to maths. You can argue with me all you like, but that's just down to maths. And the other criteria, pound for pound criteria if you like, what's the bigger accomplishment? Beating Errol Spence, who was a consensus pound for pound guy, in the most anticipated match of the year, or beating TAPALES and Fulton? These are the debates. When asked, why doesn't he take tune-ups? Inoue said, I don't take tune-ups. I don't have the mental capacity to take tune-ups. I need the maximum motivation. It was a super bantam contest. Inoue put his WBC, WBO titles against TAPALES' IBF, WBA titles. Now, Jamel Herring, he said that TAPALES, the southpaw, shouldn't stand right in front of Inoue, because Inoue could just zip in and hit you with a fight-changing shot at any time, and that is true. But when you look at TAPALES, he's full of muscle, and he was very focused, and he wanted to try and get that jab to the body in, and his own counters, and you can't do that by jumping out of the pocket. So while Jamel is a pro, and I take his account of how he saw it, TAPALES didn't want to show that type of fear. He wanted to be in range to counter, and he did. He landed a backhand left, a good shot in the first. Inoue landed a sharp right-hand counter, an uppercut. Beautiful punch. And we was in for an infighting treat with this fight here. You know, anyone dismissing the quality of TAPALES, don't. This is an undisputed fight. He came in there with 2 belts, and he fought like a man who wanted to become undisputed. He done a way better job than the highly talented Stephen Fulton, who Inoue took his 2 belts from. Inoue, he looked a lot bigger, but TAPALES were, very muscular. He started flashing the hand speed, moving around, and then in the second round, Jamel Herring was right, like, pushing the action against Inoue early without downloading some data, finding some gaps, some weaknesses perhaps. It is very chancy, and technically it looked like he should have been moving on the outside of Inoue's left foot, and he came in a little square and he got countered by that jab by Inoue, and it was a knockdown. The referee didn't call it, but it was a knockdown in the second. Inoue, he swept the second, but TAPALES, he had a plan with them counters, and he landed a very stiff jab just before the bell sounded. The plan was to punch in between Inoue's punches. TAPALES obviously had a plan to get to Inoue's body. Maybe he's seen, or his team saw, that's something that a lot of Inoue's opponents haven't done. And he landed some good left hands to the body. But Inoue's hand speed and creative combinations was the winning formula for the first 3. Inoue's very cocky. He led with the right hand at times, but he's got a lot of confidence and a hand speed, and he's very sharp, so he's able to be very creative with his combination punches. And TAPALES, he took some of them shots, and I think they hurt. But he took them and kept coming back. Credit due. But that high guard trying to block Inoue's power punches looks a bit rudimentary. You've got to keep it real, but enjoyable fight. But there's only so much you can do in a fight. Like, he wants to punch in between Inoue's shots, and to do that, he's got to stay in range. Staying in range, you're going to pick up punishment. Or he could use his feet more and try and frustrate Inoue and lose a lopsided points decision, perhaps. And you got to make choices. When you fight at these levels, you got to make choices. What is it you want out of the fight? TAPALES, he really went for it in the 4th, and he was backing Inoue up. But Inoue can fight on the back and the front foot, and his transitions, they were on another level. Great infighting by both men until Inoue broke away with that combination, punctuated with the right down the pipe, while TAPALES was backed up on the ropes, and that was the second knockdown of the fight. TAPALES got up around 8, and the bell, I'm guessing, saved him. By the 5th, TAPALES is taking an absolute beating, and left hooks like that, right hooks like that to the body, they break ribs. They break ribs.
I break bread, ribs, $100 bills.
But he banged his gloves and kept coming back. TAPALES came back and doubled up. Right hooks to the head and body. Very impressive looking uppercuts. Where he was getting the strength from, I don't know. But both men landed big shots. Very enjoyable fight. Inoue was gradually breaking him down, even though TAPALES at times gave as good as he got. Like, the 5th was as good a round you will see this year. TAPALES showed a bag of heart, gameness, and ability too. And ability. In the 6th, TAPALES come out like a nut job working the body, and it looked like he stiffened Inoue's legs up a little. Inoue needed to get his win back. Make no mistake. But TAPALES looked like he was catching a second win, working that body, jabbing up top. And Inoue was content to try and counterpunch and let the storm blow itself out. Inevitably, Inoue came back in the last minute or so, landed a massive right hand, which TAPALES ate. Then a combination left TAPALES reeling into the ropes. TAPALES' corner was telling him to let his hands go, which they had to do, but he's trying his hardest. He really is trying his hardest. He can't do much more than what he's doing. I wasn't expecting TAPALES to show this type of resistance, and when you thought he might be wilting, he came back with good shots that gave Inoue something to think about. Round 7, TAPALES lighting up Inoue with both hands, landing that jab and good power punches, and Jamel Herring changed his tune from saying you don't want to stand there in front of Inoue. Yeah, you got to keep backing up the monster, because he was having success. And that's why this is such a good fight. TAPALES, he jabbed, put up somewhat of a shoulder roll, trying to roll Inoue's counters. Inoue's timing was a little off this round. TAPALES got off with that backhand again. And the Philly shell held out. It held out, albeit a couple of rights got through. And that was his best round of the fight, the 7th. I don't think I've seen any recent opponents back Inoue up like that and catch him with the backhand like that. And Inoue is having to work it out here. Round 8 was another interesting round. TAPALES is walking him onto counters. Not saying that Inoue wasn't landing, but I gave TAPALES 2 rounds on the bounce, the 7th and the 8th. And this was a competitive fight. One-sided in patches, but competitive. The 9th round, another tough round, like TAPALES giving as good as he got. Arguably he took it. Arguably Inoue might have nicked it. But in the 10th, he tried to carry on where he left off, and he was pressing Inoue. But he left himself wide open for that right down the pipe. And even though he stayed on his feet, it was over. A second right, didn't have much on it. It put TAPALES down, and he crawled on his knees trying to get back up. Great fight. Great performance. 10th round knockout. Undisputed world super bantamweight champion. 30 years of age. I don't mind if Inoue is pound for pound best. I don't mind if it's Terence Crawford. They're both exceptional fighters, and I'm not going to get drawn into this nonsense.